Mayday, Mayday! Calling out to the viewers of Noble Reporting, this is your host, Dale Noble, reporting. Welcome to the fifth installment of this program, beloved viewer. But there has been plenty of news this week, so let's see what has caught our eyes. Nicolas Maduro showed the benefits of Venezuelan socialism this week by granting citizens free car rides, though he may have been somewhat forceful in his delivery. Casta Semenya was angry after she lost her appeal against the IAAF. She was promptly told to get her hormones under control, or man up. Theresa May fired Defence Secretary Gavin Williamson to stop leaks. Unfortunately for her, the Conservative dam has already burst. Jeremy Hunt revealed that the threat to Christians worldwide is near genocidal, coming as a shock to most of us, we are sure. Criminal Fiona Onasanya was finally removed as Petersburg MP, though questions arise as to who will take over, with few in the city bearing a clean record of their own. And the England and Northern Ireland local elections took place, giving a taste of future voting intentions, and boy, was it sweet. But first, Nicolas Maduro tightened his grasp over the Venezuelan people, granting the army the means to use force. A video went viral of vehicles driving into unarmed protesters, leaving many wounded and wondering, why the fuck did we give up our guns? They received treatment at a nearby hospital, though treatment is a loose definition. Venezuela hospitals are actually poorly equipped to deal with the people's needs, with some doctors stating that they had started running out of supplies 3 years ago. However, they need not be worried because Maduro has announced that Venezuela will produce all of its own medicine, as it should be with socialism. I'm sure that provides solace to those affected by the protests. Juan Guaido, the voice of the resistance, has attempted to convince the military to turn against Maduro, even going so far as to ask his own supporters to rally military support. This comes after the event of the protesters being mown down by armoured vehicles, leading to questions as to whether Guaido truly understands the situation he has gotten himself into. He has since accepted that he overestimated military support for his uprising, which is a glaring blind spot when one decides to lead a revolution. There will be more to come from this crisis for the foreseeable future. Casta Semenya lost her appeal this week, though some question if she had any to begin with. She was challenging new rules that would restrict testosterone levels for female runners. She based her challenge upon concerns towards future practical application of the new rules, citing that she would no longer be able to trounce the competition as she currently does, making this unfair. To continue running at this level, Semenya would now be required to take medication to lower her testosterone levels to those more in line with typical female levels. Semenya continues to fight against the principle, claiming that she wants to run naturally, in the way she was born. We asked one of her competitors about this sentiment and received the following response.
I totally feel the frustration that Semenya must be feeling right now. But if I, an average Russian athlete, cannot keep up with the steroids that my coach provides, then sorry, something needs to be done.
This ruling reopened the debate regarding whether or not differences existed between males and females, and provided sufficient scientific evidence to categorically stipulate that this is indeed the case. Screw you, feminists. Critics against the ruling will continue whining until it is turned over in their favour, so do not expect this to be the end of the saga. MP Gavin Williamson was sacked from his position as Defence Secretary this week, which was probably a good thing, considering him being caught unawares by May's blindsiding attack against him. The initial reasoning for this move was the leaking of information from the National Security Council, which Williamson flatly denies. It has since been alleged that Williamson was already on the chopping block after making comments about invading Africa and how May is unfit as PM due to her diabetes. This came as quite the shock, as we know that May is actually just unfit because she can't listen, can't command, and ultimately can't lead, amongst many other reasons, of which diabetes is pretty low. As for the invade Africa comments, yes, these seem morally indefensible. But you can't help wonder if the Empire would have helped many of them out right now. As this story continues to unfold, the Chinese laugh as their pawn Huawei relays the news to them. A report finding that the persecution of Christians worldwide was near genocidal levels has been highlighted by Jeremy Hunt. The report found that Christians were the most persecuted religious group and have received little acknowledgement as such, though, as a Western democracy that no longer has the use for the institution, this is bound to continue. This comes in the light of the Sri Lankan bombings last week, from which discussion ensued surrounding whether or not it was a targeted attack. Mr. Hunt admitted that part of the failings in communicating this knowledge came from political correctness, though it would be more accurate to suggest media blackout. Writers at the reputable Guardian offices dispute the claim, citing trade instead, deciding to ignore the fact that none of the major news outlets have sufficiently covered the persecutions of Christians in India, Nigeria, China, the Middle East, Indonesia, and many, many more, whilst campaigning against so-called Muslim plight in the US, the UK, and continental Europe. They also blithely ignore the reasoning given for the rejection of Asia Bibi's asylum request to this country, which claimed that it would lead to unrest in the British Muslim community. Yes, because an innocent woman's life is worth less than the aggressive attitudes of extremists allowed to freely wander this nation. Honk honk, we have arrived. Disgraced MP Fiona Onasanya was finally ousted from her Peterborough seat after a recall petition reached 19,261 supporters, or a third of her electorate. Onasanya was sentenced after being caught speeding and then perverting the course of justice. She retained her position despite serving time in jail and continued to hold the seat until this week. This was met by outrage from voters, though only a third, who declared that they would have been sacked from their jobs in the same circumstances. So what gave her the right to retain hers? She has since declared that she will not be running in the by-election, and has also claimed to be the victim of bullying and harassment, though these are not nearly as foul as perverting justice, or so only a third of her electorate would decree. You know what? Are we going to ignore that only a third, were incensed enough to petition a recall against a sitting criminal? No wonder this country's in such a state. And finally, the Conservative Party should find a new name after being utterly devastated in the local elections, losing over 1,200 council seats. Labour too fared badly, despite being the government's primary opposition, though they should maintain their namesake due to its accuracy. Many outlets have since focused on the success stories of the Liberal Democrats and the Green Party, which admittedly received fantastic voter turnout. Their strong local commitments and firm stances nationally obviously aided them here, the latter of which supports the biases of the news institutions, giving them one hell of a field day. However, it has been ignored that independents received higher votes than both of these groups, showcasing that maybe the current party politics in general is a dying trend. Many organizations have also shown a tendency to ignore the low voter turnout and the record levels of spoilt votes, but I suppose you have to do anything to achieve that spin. That is all for this episode. Thank you for tuning in to Noble Reporting. See you next Sunday.